I got my greetings the other day, and I started to run the other way. That would be wrong, even you'll agree. But here's what Uncle Sam had to say to me. Bring enough clothes for 3 days. Bring enough clothes for 3 days. Bring enough clothes for 3 days, cause they ain't gonna turn you loose.
Well, we were living out in Inglewood, 62nd and Racine, and at the time I was drafted, I can't think of the number that I was, but it was around, I think it was like 656 or something like that. That was my draft number, and the poll was at 63rd and Racine. And at that time I had one my wife and I had one child, Carla.
I was working for the Sun Times. I had a district manager. I had an agency to get in. And what had happened, I had come out to 55th Street so often. I went out there, and each time I got there, I was late. And they sent it back until you'd go back and come back again. And the third time, the guy that when I come in there, I was coming in late again. And the guy said, go back. Then he looked at me. He says, no, you don't come back. This is your third time being late. So he sent me straight down to town to go in. And I had to go right down there that day and register.
I got a job working at a place making them stoves so they would keep me out of it. And then I thought I had sinus trouble. I thought that would stop me. But the doctor told me at the recruiting office, said, that's all right, overseas climate would help you.
And I was working at Glenview Naval Base on a construction job making $1 an hour. Greetings, salutation. You have been submitted by your local draft board composed of your neighbors to serve in the armed forces of the United States Army, Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
While taking the physical, there was a guy in there that was going in with me that I knew. His name was Wheatley, Lord Wheatley. And he looked like a white guy, but he wasn't white because I knew him. He grew up in our neighborhood. And he told me, he says, now if you do exactly as I do, you won't have to go in. And what he did was, when they called him to go in to take his physical, he started raising that, you're going to send me down south, the prejudice down there, I can't ride the bus, got to do this and drink out of this, and I don't want to go down there. And he raised so much heck, they took him in a back room. And I'm still sitting there listening. We were sitting there listening to him. I guess they didn't want him to influence the other guys that were there to take the physical and whatnot. So they took him in a back room. And I understand he didn't have to go in. Because they said they didn't put him in, and he stayed here. And when I got out of the Army, they say he was living on the north side.
Bring enough clothes for 3 days. 50 a month is all it pays. Bring enough clothes for 3 days. And don't bring no sad excuse. You got to realize you're a soldier now. If you don't realize you're a soldier anyhow, that little mess is up to you. Brother, there's nothing that you can do but bring enough clothes for 3 days. You've got a chance to get a raise, but bring enough clothes for 3 days, cause they ain't gonna turn you loose.
The man told us, so let me tell you niggas, he said, from Detroit and Chicago, you down in Texas, you sit in the back of the bus. And what happened, that night when we got back on the bus, he got around by the ballpark, and we gave him an old-fashioned Yankee whipping. And after that, the bus didn't come back around that by the ballpark anymore. We had to get off at the main gate and walk back. We went in, we served our country. We was treated like second-class citizens. We were in the black army, there was the white army. We had dumb white officers, I'm gonna tell you that. Dumb white officers. They flunked out of white outfits and they sent them to us.
They just didn't care.
They didn't care.
We were on a LST, and we had the infantry blanket, horseshoe blanket rolls on, and we didn't know when we were supposed to land, but the infantry and the engineers had been in. The Germans in Cherbourg, they had the beach there, they had steel obstacles into the water there like this, so a boat couldn't go in there. And the engineers had to come in and render pass for you to go get to the beach. Now, we had been briefed in England before D-Day, and they were telling us he didn't tell us a lot of us were going to get killed, but those higher-ups know that there had to be a bunch of deaths. And then a bunch of all these guys were 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 20, young men. They were just going to their death.
I was in the boat sitting out there for 3 days. The third day I came in to Love. And as we got off the boat that brought us into shore, the guy that opened the gate, the gun opened up from the outside and he killed him, and the rest of us jumped over the boat. They had told us not to do that, but that's what we did. We jumped over and swam to shore.
They told us, the infantrymen that went in ahead of us, said, when you get on the beach, don't stop. When you get on the beach, go right on up. He said that they got these trenches and everything in there, and they're well fortified. He said, just go right on up and go on. Let the people out there that are coming in later clear those things out. Because you could see them from if you had some good glasses, we could see them from the LSC. See them saw them with flamethrowers and whatnot, trying to get those. They'd go up to the slit trench. Then we saw some guys, finally they put a guy on a ladder with a flamethrower and put him up to the thing, because by the time he do this and get up there, the cat would get shot. And they put him up there with the flamethrowers. And anyway, when we got in on the beach, the soldiers we saw gobs of soldiers there. That's when first time I said, dang, these people are playing for real. That's when you know you can get killed.
Every time we did something great, the lieutenants got all the credit. We captured some paratroopers, and what happened, the lieutenant taking credit for it. I think he got a brown star. And then another time, the sniper was sniping at us, and we cleaned out that nest, and another lieutenant got one. But all in all, I think we had about 8 to 10 brown stars. That's the brown stars was awarded to the outfit. And then we had, I don't know, maybe 25 or 30 Purple Hearts. We had about 10 or 12 fellas killed from this outfit. We were supposed to be in a non-combat outfit, but you can't get killed unless you're up there. And then we had 3 fellas captured: Lester, Colbert, and ODELL MELLON.
So they pulled ODELL out and took him up in the forest, like, and I run up. That's the only time in my life I ever became a hero or had courage. I went up there to see it. They had shot him and he was laying on the ground. And the Germans were passing the gun around his back of him, behind him. So the commander come up and asked him, come up there and made me get back in line. I asked him why they shoot him. So they was telling me during the African campaign, all they saw was these black soldiers, Moroccans or Sinhalese or whatever, stepping out of the camp. They were exceptionally good night fighters. He said they thought he was one of them. They kept me in a brewery all night, interrogated me, and they asked you questions and everything. So I made up my mind. I would tell them everything they asked me. Because I saw him beat a white boy with a riding crop, just cut him up like a razor with that thing, because he wanted to go with that name, rank, and serial number like you're supposed to give. So then he walked across the rank, and they put me in a boxcar, 44 of us in a boxcar. in the little boxcar, and they rode me in the boxcar. And on maybe the fourth day, they stopped at a German Red Cross. They give us some looked like oatmeal balls, soup, and a glass of mint tea. And I ate them 3 little balls, and well, I hadn't had nothing to eat. And I drank the tea, this purple water, and then I kept the leaves. So we rolled them up and smoked them. And, you know, and we all sit there in this thing, and we rolled some more days to the eastern frontier. And the American planes was coming down trying to strafe us. So we had what they call we had a captain there, a silver one. He was the captain of it, and he asked could he pull the train over and we get up on top of it and write Red Cross on it so our planes wouldn't strafe it. And they did. They let it put on the side, and they let us get up there and write Red Cross on the top of the plane. And then all that was, they followed us all the way. They never did shell us or shoot us at us anymore. They brought us into camp. We got into camp on the eastern frontier. I think it was about 1 o'clock at night. They brought us a big batter of black coffee and some tins of bread and stuff in cans. And half of the guys hadn't eaten, and we just fell out, you know, just food. So they marched us into the camp, Stalag Pullman, and I stayed there, you know, several months, and then they sent me out on the detail. I went out on the detail. We had a coal stove in the barrack. There's 400 of us in the barrack. I was in a barrack with all English ones, and it was international camp, what they call. They would shake my hand. The German would shake my hand and see if the color would come off, or they'd walk up to me and pinch me to see if I'm real, you know, and give me pieces of bread and stuff like that to see that I, you know, I wasn't a robot or something. Then they brought us on back home. I came in, then the Russians came in and liberated us. They kept me, moved me to Dresden or Leipzig, and locked me up 2 months in a Luftwaffe camp. And that's when I got some black bread and some mush, cornmeal mush or whatever it called it is. And the guys were sneaking off, so they kept us locked up for 2 months because they were getting $1 for each one of us. They turned over to the American. So they turned us over to the American. They moved me to Leipzig. I went to Leipzig, and they had the planes waiting to take me to Camp Lucky Strike. And they called my name and sent me on the plane. I flew into Lucky Strike, which is in France. I stayed there for a while, then they shipped me back overseas. And then I came back, you know, to Newport News, Virginia, and they put me in the isolation ward. I came back with hepatitis, area joints, and malnutrition. I kicked them all, I think.
It made a better man out of me. That's one thing I can say, because you know, I learned to respect people, and I learned how to keep myself, to be a better man myself, and know how to get along with people.
So that's all I know. It just started being recognized now. It's a joy now. I get a kick out of it.
You're proud of it?
Yeah. I asked some guys yesterday where they had the guys at a meeting, a luncheon we was at. And I asked them, would we do it over again and stuff like that. We got a pro and con thing on it. I don't know. I learned a lot. I really did. I really learned a lot. And I know one thing. I can soldier. I can soldier. If I can keep up with him, I can soldier. That's all he knows.
I was the youngest of 6 sons who were in the
I
service.
thought you was a sibling, the luckiest sibling.
I was the youngest of the 7 sons,
Oh, that's
the
right.
luckiest one.
Yes,
But
you used to tell
my
me that
mother-
all the time.
My mother had 6 sons in World War II at one time.
Really?
So yeah, so it was sort of hard on my mother. But
Yeah.
other than that, and I don't know how my sister kept writing us letters. I think she wrote all of us the same thing. Mama's doing fine, we're doing fine, how you doing? And so when I write a letter, I said I was doing fine.
So all your brothers came back?
Yeah, they all came back.
Oh, that's a blessing.
Yeah, it's a blessing, yeah. But then they started going just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm the last of the tribe.
And he used to tell me all the time, the 7th son, the luckiest son.
I'm the
That's what he used to
youngest.
tell me all the time.
I'm the youngest of the 7 sons and the luckiest one.
Oh, yeah,
I'm still living, everybody else is gone.
They told us, they said, if you can get through the Army without getting killed, wounded, or losing limbs and whatnot, your life will be 10 years longer than it would if you didn't go in the Army. Well, I can see that. I really believe my life got healthier from being in the Army.